All right. Well, welcome to the A Step Ahead Zombies new user walkthrough. What I'm going to do is take you guys through an active challenge demonstration of the site. What you're viewing on screen is the start page. So upon login, you'll be taken directly to this page. Once it loads, you can hit the start button to go into the game. You'll want to take notice of tips at the bottom of the screen. So while the screen's loading, just take a look at the tip at the bottom, and those are going to give you helpful hints on how to navigate and how to optimize your play. All right, so let's go ahead and enter the game, and I'm going to hit the start button. Now, each team, Monday through Sunday, is going to be racing across the screen with the objective of reaching the safe house, which is the far right side of the screen here. You can see it's this bunker these teams are trying to reach here. All right, so each and every week on Monday, all teams will start at the same starting line down here, and then as they accumulate steps, they're going to move across the screen left to right and progress, hopefully reaching the safe house first. Now, the reason it's significant to reach the safe house first is because the very first team that reaches that location receives a 5,000 point bonus. So that's added incentive to move as quickly across the screen as you can. Now, the main objective, above all else, is to accumulate steps. And it's helpful to note that every team moves at an average of the team's pace. All right? So let's go over how to enter steps first. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to click on the main navigation button at the top of the screen here, the sorry icon. And it's going to say, how can I help you? The first thing I want to do is enter my steps. And I've actually got three methods of doing that. I can enter them manually. So for instance, if I have a Garmin, an Apple Watch, maybe an old school pedometer that's not necessarily hooked up to Bluetooth, I can take that step value off of that pedometer and just enter it here. So for example, if I had 5,000 steps, I can enter that here, hit save, and I've loaded my steps for the day. As an alternative, we have something called walk run time and intensity, and essentially this is a safety net we have in place. So let's say, for instance, you go out for a run, you get back from your hour, 15-minute run, and you realize, oh my goodness, I did not take my pedometer with me. Am I going to get credit for my steps? What do? Well, you can log that activity here, and hour, 15-minute run, I'm going to hit save, and what the system is going to do is actually estimate the number of steps I would have covered in that time frame and that intensity. All right, so it's estimated that I would have covered 11,700 steps. Okay? The other thing that's helpful to note is that each day within the game represents a turn. And the ultimate objective over the course of this entire challenge is to help you guys develop new healthy behaviors. And one way to instill a healthy behavior and make it stick is to do it on a daily basis. So the objective here is to enter your steps each and every day of the challenge, for all 40 days of the challenge, prior to midnight Eastern Standard Time. So you want to make sure you get those steps in before midnight. All right? Now, some of you may have a device that we actually sync with, perhaps a Fitbit, a Misfit, a Jawbone, or a Withings device. And I want to go through how to attach that device if you haven't done that through the sign-up process. So we have that option in the sign-up process, but if you weren't able to get to that, we can show you how to do it here. I'm going to go to the main navigation button again. I'm going to go to the home screen. And then I'm going to go down to the bottom where it says Manage Pedometers. So I'm going to click on Manage Pedometers. It says Add Device. Let's say I want to add a Fitbit, for example. It looks like I already have a Fitbit connected. Let's say I want to add a Jawbone. So I'll add a Jawbone. I can name my device. In my device, Ben's Jawbone, I hit save. And what it does is it prompts me to log in to whatever device I've connected. So for example, if you have Fitbit, you're going to be asked to enter your username and password for Fitbit. If you have a Jawbone, it'll be asking you to enter that information. And essentially what you're doing there is allowing us to communicate with that device app. All right? And so I don't have a Jawbone, but if I did, I would enter my information here, and then I'd hit sign in. And then allow screen is going to come up, and it's going to say, do you want to allow a step ahead to communicate with these aspects of the Jawbone or Fitbit program? And you allow it, and then we've got a connection. All right? Now, it's helpful to note also that I said that we communicate with Jawbone or Fitbit app, not directly with the device. So the device that you wear on your wrist relays the information to your phone via Bluetooth. And it's important to note that you've got to have Bluetooth on in many cases in order for that relay of communication to occur. So each night, before you go to bed, if you take a look at the step count on your device app on your phone and flex the same number that's on the device on your wrist, then you're good to go. If it doesn't, chances are you did not have Bluetooth on and that communication did not occur. So we want to make sure that Bluetooth's activated, you've opened up the app, and the device is in close proximity to the phone. All right? Okay, so once we receive all that information, I want to show you guys how that looks on screen. I'm going to click into the scorecard here. And you can see the teams listed. And you'll see your team rank as of today. I can also view this chapter, which is this week, which represents Monday through Sunday. And then I can also view this episode, which is your rank for the entire challenge. All right, and you can see my team here, Desk Jockeys, is currently in first place. All right, now the Safe House bonus. Remember I mentioned that 5,000 point bonus. Each week of all 6 weeks of the challenge, one team will have the opportunity to score that Safe House bonus. And you can see my team was able to score that Safe House bonus 2 out of the 6 weeks of the challenge. All right? You'll notice our steps here. So I'm actually going to click into my team by clicking on My Team. And you'll notice a number of people listed here. All right? And then we're actually going to view this as of today. Okay, so you can see all these people listed here. Now, we didn't actually cover, as a team, 11,700 steps. We covered the average of all the players on the team. So all 15 players, we averaged that steps. And if I want to view how many steps were covered so far today, I click back on Teams, and you can see that for today, let's see here. We've covered that total steps here. It looks like I've got inaccurate number here. We're going to get that straightened out. But note that you move at an average of your team's pace. You do not move at your individual pace. All right? Okay, so that's the major component of the program that I want everybody to be aware of. First and foremost, you got to enter your steps on the day in which they occur prior to midnight, and that's going to be the primary way to score points for your team, and that's going to be the primary way you stay ahead of the zombies. Now, you'll notice here, this green hand represents the zombies, all right? And any time you spend the night behind these guys, you're going to take damage to your health, all right? And I've got this health meter here. My character's got 5 full hearts, so I am not currently in danger of becoming a zombie. All right, so let's say that I spent multiple days behind the zombie horde. Each day, I'll take the equivalent damage of whatever this number of hands represented here. So 2 hands represents 2 hearts. So if I stayed in this position, tomorrow morning I'd wake up, and instead of having 5 hearts, I'd have 3. Now, the only way to replenish your health is to track healthy diet and lifestyle choices. All right? Let's see here. Let me get out of this screen. So what I can do is I can track I can go to the tracker, for example. I can click here, click on the tracker. As of today, similar to what you would do for your steps, you want to make sure that you enter on the day in which they occurred. All right. I'm going to go to diet. And I can click on lean protein, for example. If you had some lean protein for lunch or breakfast, check that off. And once you hit the check mark, all that does is load it into the queue. I have not confirmed it yet, so make sure that we go through the full process before we exit out here. If you had some vegetables, you can check that off as well. as well as glasses of water if you've had 3 to 4 glasses so far today. Perfect. All right. Now we've got our choices here. I want to show you guys lifestyle as well because those will help fill your hearts. Now, lifestyle covers all of those activities that can't necessarily be categorized as nutrition-based or exercise-based, but things like getting a good night's sleep, turning down your electronic devices before you go to bed, so your TV, your computer screen. If you do those types of things, you're more apt to have a restful night's sleep. You're going to be able to recover from the stresses of the day, and you'll be better off the following morning. All right? Minimizing alcohol consumption, making your own meals, all of these things have value. All right, so let's go ahead and track slumber power. I slept for 7 or more hours, and I've got all my healthy activities logged. I'm going to hit the confirm button. It's going to load my selections into the game. And what I want to do after I do that is I actually want to refresh the screen. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to pull in the most up-to-date information in the game, and that way it'll be reflected on screen next time I access the site. All right? So we're loading here, and again, we've got a helpful hint down here. So take note of that. All right. So we talked about tracking health. We talked about tracking diet and lifestyle choices. The other thing I want you guys to be aware of is how to track other exercise activities. So I'm going to go to track my activities, and I'm going to go back into the tracker. And you notice under exercise, I've got these 3 major buckets: strength training, cardio, and flexibility. Now, these are buckets are designed to capture those activities that aren't necessarily step-based. So things like lifting weights, doing yoga, swimming, cycling. All of those are activities that don't necessarily translate directly to steps, but you still want to receive credit for them. All right, so I can go through my list here. And let's say, for example, I'm a CrossFitter. I go into CrossFit. I toggle the time that I spent performing that activity. I hit the check mark. And what I want everybody to notice when I refresh this is this bar here. Okay, take note of that bar. Confirm. Hit continue. We'll close. And again, I want to refresh. Let's see if that bar increases at all. All right, so we're waiting for the screen to load. And the reason you want to track exercise is twofold. Number one, each and every day of the challenge, you have the opportunity to score up to 2,500 points per team. All right, so if I'm on a team of 5, for example, I can score up to 500 points per day. If I'm on a team of 10, I can score up to 250. And the only way to reach that threshold is to log 30 minutes or more of physical activity each and every day. All right? So that's one way to score additional points for your team. Now, the other way to score points, well, take a look there. We've got that clash meter. And then this is the other reason I want you guys to track exercise. So in addition to scoring points for your team, this is basically like playing defense. So if the bar for our team is greater than the zombie horde, which it is in this case, we will actually push them back. We're going to have a negative impact on their step counts. And if all teams within the challenge are doing that, it's basically like you're all working together to fight one common enemy. You're going to push back the zombie and be able to progress across the screen. All right? Now, let's say you've got some early morning meetings. You know you're not going to be able to go to the gym before work. You've got some family obligations in the evening. You know you're not going to be able to go to the gym after work either. Well, how are you going to be able to contribute those exercise points for your team? Well, what we have are these games called Utilifit games that deliver very brief physical activities that you can perform in general office attire. You don't need any special equipment, and they take minimal time. You're either going to get prompted once an hour or once every 2 hours to perform a physical activity. So I'm going to demonstrate that here now by hitting Start a Game. And I'm going to go ahead and select this game here. I'm going to start it now. And what it's going to do is it's going to trigger, prompt me to do this physical activity. And I can opt to receive these via email as well. And this particular activity is just asking me to walk for 30 seconds. Very straightforward. As soon as I return to my desk, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the I did it button. And that's the only way the system knows that I've completed that physical activity, is if I actually hit the I did it button. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've logged that at physical activity. And if I'm consistent and I'm able to complete a full game throughout the workday, which again is either going to prompt me once an hour or once every 2 hours, then at the end of the day, I will have met my threshold for contributing exercise points for my team. So that's one other incentive to play the games if you're unable to go to the gym before or after work. All right, so at this point, we've covered all the major components of the game. One thing I want everybody to be aware of is you can turn into a zombie. So if your health goes down to 0, the very next day, you will no longer be represented on your team. You're actually going to fall under the roster of the zombie horde. So let's take a look at the zombie horde here. Right now, it's an automated team. There are no humans on this team, and they're moving at an automated pace of 7,000 steps a day. Now, if there were humans on this team, and they were walking more than 7,000 steps a day, then it essentially becomes a player versus player game. You are no longer playing against a computer. You're playing against a real-life human, and they can strategize and manipulate the pace in order to reach as many people as they possibly can and chase you down. So when you become a zombie, you've basically got two options in terms of play. You can embrace your new zombie status and try to chase down as many former teammates and coworkers as you possibly can. Or if you decide, you know what, I really don't enjoy being a zombie, I'd like to return to my human team, what you can do is track 5 consecutive days of maximum diet and lifestyle choices. So we're talking 3 to 4 healthy diet and lifestyle choices for 5 consecutive days, and then you'll be given the option to return to humanity and return to your team. All right, so we recognize that folks like to play in different play styles. Some people like to be chased. Some people like to chase others. And we want you to know that we can accommodate that style regardless of what it is. All right, so you can see again my human team. You, as you're logging in as yourself, it will always be highlighted, so you'll know exactly where you stand. Zombie kills, this icon here represents my tracked exercise. This here represents health. This is diet and lifestyle choices that I've tracked. And then obviously this here is my steps. This represents my steps that I've accumulated for the day. All right? And then again, if you want to view the entire team list and where everyone ranks, I can hit the teams, and I can see that reflected here. All right. We've covered all the major components of the game. I'd like to open up the floor to any questions. What I'd ask is that everybody post their questions within the Join Me chat, and that way I can navigate throughout the system and go to whatever they may be asking. I can answer that question by navigating to that area. All right, I haven't seen any questions come through, but I do want to do a quick recap. So again, the key takeaways: you want to enter your steps each and every day of the challenge, all 40 days on the day in which they occur prior to midnight. You want to make sure you're tracking those healthy diet and lifestyle choices, whether it's drinking water, getting a good night's sleep, eating vegetables, eating lean protein. Make sure you track that as well. That's going to boost your health. And then any additional exercise is not only going to benefit you as an individual player, but it's also going to benefit your team by helping you guys generate that 2,500 point maximum per day for tracked exercise. I see a question in the chat: is there a specific app that we need to put on your phones? If you have a device, let's say a Fitbit, a Misfit, a Jawbone, a Withings, you want to download that app for that device, and then you can sync with our system. You can sync via Bluetooth. There are other apps out there that are standard pedometers. I'm not necessarily partial to one over the other. You can certainly use all of them. If it's not a supported device, you will have to manually enter your steps. But I highly recommend downloading a pedometer if you don't have one already? A great question. What if you're on the West Coast? Seems that East Coast time determines the cutoff times. That's correct. So currently what we're going to do is set it to East Coast time, so that would be midnight. Now, in a 24-hour period, it'll roll over. So what I mean by that is, I did not mention this, and I don't want people to default to using it, but what we have in place is a safety net, for example. So if you log, for instance, you're on the West Coast, and you log your steps at 9:30 p.m., which is obviously after the midnight cutoff on the East Coast, what will happen is the very next day, something will run called the differential calculator. And what that is it's a comparison of what's represented in the system versus what's represented in the game, and any quote-unquote missing steps from the previous day will be added to the current day. And unfortunately on screen there's not an example of that, but basically what it would be is a plus sign by my name, and I could click on that plus sign and it would essentially say, you logged, for example, 3,000 steps after Wednesday's cutoff. We've added those 3,000 steps to today. So you don't necessarily need to worry if you just missed that cutoff, because the differential calculator will capture it. But I will say you do not want to attempt to log steps that occurred more than 24 hours in the past. So the system cannot accommodate, trying to log a week's worth of steps on Friday if you miss Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It won't be able to catch Wednesday steps either. It can only catch the previous day. And again, the reason that we've set it up like that is the overall objective for the challenge is to increase all your healthy behaviors, and then you get in the habit of doing something on a daily basis. It's ingrained. It just becomes part of your daily routine, and that's what we want to do there. I see a question here. Sorry, but is there a way for me to look at what's happening on my phone and to enter my information if I can't be at a computer? Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me see if I can accommodate that request on screen. You guys can actually get a view of our mobile website. Okay, so essentially what you guys are viewing on screen is the mobile website. And the great news is that the menu is exactly the same as it is on your desktop computer. So any internet-connected device, whether it be a smartphone, an iPad, a laptop, a desktop computer, all of those devices can access the game as long as you have internet access. All right? So you can most definitely access from your phone. You do not have to have it on your computer. Great question. Other questions? All right. It doesn't look like any questions are coming through. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to sit through this demonstration. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. We're looking forward to seeing you in the game. We're going to post the link to this video as well, so you'll have the opportunity to view it in the future. But thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.